Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Bethel Evangelical Free Church Hanley. I'm Pastor Gervais Charney. This is another historic Nottinghamshire church, the last one for today's batch of filming, or this batch of filming. This is the Church of St Mary, Colston Bassett. The previous video will, God willing, have been St John's, which is the new church. This is the old church that it replaced, and you can really see around me some evidence of it having been altered. Yes, that is a blocked arcade for the north aisle. This was a cruciform building at one point. It stands in splendid isolation upon a hilltop, and the new church is in the village. The church here, well, there must have been a church here before the Norman Conquest, because some Anglo-Saxon stonework has been discovered during maintenance. But the oldest part of the present building are 12th century. It's then disused, of course, unroofed and partially taken down in the 1890s, and it's partially taken down because the building is unstable. The site is a very ancient one. There's probably been worship here before there was Christian worship here. It's a hilltop, it's very prominent, and so it may very well have been a site of pagan worship. And as the church has grown over the centuries, it's grown over not just uniform geology, but over lumps and bumps and holes, and therefore it's tried to fall down. And in the 1770s there was a major stabilisation that involved demolishing a great chunk of the building, the north aisle, the north transept, and rebuilding part of the chancel. And so we'll see as we go round. We're sort of on the inside, although of course because it's unroofed, then the inside is a little bit odd in terms of not being completely inside, because there's no roof and not much of one of the walls. But as we go on the inside, we'll see some of the features, and then we'll come around the outside and again see how it's changed. So the building we see today reached its apogee, its greatest size, as with so many, in the late 14th century, and it's then out all the way from there, but that's life. So let's have a look around. So as usual, we start at the west end, which here means under the tower, and you can see here the arcade. Now up above we have the only remaining wooden structure, which is the tower levels, and they're partially pulling the tower up together, so they have to be maintained. We move into the nave. This represents the oldest part of the church, and this was originally a small Norman church. Later on in the Norman period, we have in the late 12th century, an arcade is built in an aisle, is constructed. We have the columns here built into the wall, and you can see there, and here's a half column. Later on, this is elaborated, and we get a new pointy 14th century arcade, and you can see within there we have the 18th century windows from when this was all blocked up in the 1770s, and it seems to have happened because of structural issues. I mentioned structural issues. You can see that brick there and those metal tie rods, and that's because the chancell's partially collapsed and has had to be shored up. This is the arch to the north transept, and you can see there is no north transept. That too has all been bricked up, has been blocked up. And into the chancel we have no east window, because a solid wall is much sturdier than one with a window in it, because structural issues. And we move up here, you can see there's the piscina, and as we turn around we look west. There's some very nice interpretive boards here, and you can see there that top part is 15th century, and you've got two old roof lines visible. You've got the one before they put the clerestory on and the one afterwards, and you can also probably see that the tower has a distinct lean to it. This is because this is what happens if you are not careful. So the 13th century, low part of the tower is 13th century, and then the top part is, say, 15th century, and the bell frame in there is early 17th century. The Georgian work is done in the 1770s because of structural issues. Now, we have a surviving transept on this side, and your eyes do not deceive you. The window, both sides are bowing very significantly outwards, which they should not be doing. And this is because the building is not stable. Well, it is now stable, but it was not stable. You can see here this wall is not true. It wobbles, it has a bow to it. All of this says that by the 1890s they were saying, well, this building is trying to fall down, shall we just let it? And there's a piscina. It's impossible not to conclude that this unroofing it was the cheaper option. So you can see here the arcade, and that too leans outwards slightly. It is stable. It's not unsafe. I wouldn't be in here if it was unsafe, but it's taken a lot of effort to stabilise it, and it's a lot easier to stabilise a ruin like this than it is a building that is constantly threatening to develop devotional tendencies and prostrate itself. So we'll go outside. And so we're outside now. You can see here the tower, and here's what survives the north side of the nave. And the rest has gone because it's just collapsed, owing to structural issues. And there's a nice mound down there which we will see, which is where much of the rubble will have ended up that didn't then get moved elsewhere and used to build houses or road surfaces, that kind of thing, other useful things you do with rubble from ruins. So we'll look around the outside next. So St Mary's is very much a romantic ruin. You can see that originally the aisles wrapped around the tower, and the tower then would have just stuck up. It's quite a common style around here, but then this aisle has been demolished, and then you can see there's the mound where the transept, part of the transept is gone, and the east end there. And however much we may lament the state of the building, it's hard to fault anyone for it ending up like this, other than the people who didn't really think through how secure is this structure. So we come here to the east end. You can see some trace of that east window. You can just see a line there, but the other side is missing. But obviously it must have an east window because churches did. Certainly a medieval church like this. Around then to the south side, which is the most intact side. It's where they haven't knocked down the aisle. And there we have that chancel, and then that angle there between the chancel and the transept. So cruciform buildings are high status. Cruciform churches are high status because it's a complicated thing to do, and in this case, largely I think because of the underlying geology, it has gone spectacularly wrong. And you look at the tumble of those gravestones, the old gravestones, just lying higgledy-piggledy this way and that. Part of this is because they put up the gravestones before and just flattened it off, and so the gravestones would settle. But part of it, I think, is the geology up here is problematic. So, but you see those niches, and this was a really high-status church. This is not a simple plain building. This is a really grand structure, and what we see today is just the remnants of it left after the rebuilding, or the remnants left after the unroofing, because it's very, very unstable. See those walls leaning outwards, and we saw inside bowing and everything you don't want an actual structure to be doing. You see here we've got a north door, and then we've got this rather strange feature here, which appears to be another door that's been put through the bottom of a window. And why, we don't know. People have strange ideas. The setting on top of the hill is spectacular. The church tower can be seen for miles around, and you can see for miles around. That over there is the Hall Estate. And I'll just try to see if we can see the spire of the new church from here. Maybe it's behind trees, but the new church is over there somewhere anyway. No, the spire's behind trees, so we can't see it. And look at that upper window there, leaning sideways and bricked up in order to secure it. As I say, a lot of work's been done to make sure the building is safe, so it is open to visitors any time of the day. It doesn't appear to be locked, but you'd obviously be considerate, be wary, and remember that in the middle of the night you can't actually appreciate this very well. You need to have actual sunlight to appreciate it. So that is Colston Bassett, St Mary's, the old church. It is so old. So there you have it, St Mary's, Colston Bassett, the old church. As we've seen, a building that was structurally in very poor shape at the time it was partially demolished. A building that has, over the centuries, had to be shored up and altered again and again until eventually in the 1890s they said, you know what, this is just a mug's game, let's just build a new church in the village where the people actually live. You can't fault them for it, and it's a good thing that this old building here is maintained as a romantic ruin and a tourist attraction. So thank you for watching, and may God bless you and keep you until next time.